All right, folks. Let's see here. We have our image. We have our sound.
Presidency than they were under President Trump.
Here we go.
Now take a look at what I was left when I became president. What Mr. Trump left me. We had
Not a great way to start the debate.
The pandemic was so badly handled. When people were dying, all he said was, "It's not that serious."
Welcome, everyone.
Bleach,
We're right into the debate.
Be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%.
What's with his voice?
Terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Hey, our first mention of Scranton, Pennsylvania, folks.
During the month, it was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units.
Can he breathe?
Sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos. Literally chaos.
That face.
And so we put things back together. We created.
I gotta say, the Trump face right now might be an all-time Trump meme face.
We brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a
welcome, everyone.
as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price of.
He does look like he's reading, doesn't he?
Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you, whoever pointed that out.
We're the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we
hit
the money necessary. So
released. I mean,
the likes of which we had
your mileage may vary on that.
By the time we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country, but other than that,
so
we had given them back.
Not to interrupt here, but we've got no audience. We've got a 2-minute broadcast delay. Mics are going to get cut off at whim. There's no rebuttal to the rebuttal. And reporters are banned. CNN, as I said, are not filming a debate. They're shooting a film here, so understand that.
It is absolutely killing us.
See more spontaneity and Nazi line dance.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy is the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history.
You are the wealthy, Joe.
He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only.
At least you were after selling the energy grid to China.
Than he had in the beginning, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something.
I know. I met Herbert Hoover.
In the military. You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves.
After I became president, we got freshly to killing people in Afghanistan.
This safe country.
We were killing them on the wheels of planes taking off. It's fantastic.
That doesn't have any this decade. That doesn't any troops dying anywhere in the world.
I'm convinced the sole purpose of war at this point is to teach Biden geography.
You want
allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like
ripping
China,
us off on trade.
In all fairness to China,
ripping us off.
Just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously.
It is true, though. The Jefferson administration funded the entire government through tariffs. They banned all inland taxes, so this is not a wild idea.
I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And
can you imagine all taxes being banned? Just
jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months, and then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan
what do you mean?
is concerned,
The Biden economy is so great, my
Afghanistan,
bankruptcy lawyer is filing for bankruptcy.
Dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations,
that was a good little repost, I have to say, from Trump.
And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Here's an idea. Cut programs. You don't have to fund what you don't have.
Just prior to COVID, and even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue.
So we're starting with the economy here, I guess, is the issue.
We're bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country.
Anybody else think Trump could slam dunk this entire debate by just holding up a grocery receipt from like 4 years ago?
We already start using the liquid gold right under our feet. The oil and gas.
Like the economy's so bad, when Obama and Big Mike, get together, they have to share a male hooker.
COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Yeah, but most of them died of suddenly.
In his administration, he did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world.
Why does he say poor like a Canadian guy?
They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third
excess deaths. Thank you, Scud.
Of his election, trying to go after his political opponent. All of the things he's done, we've become
Godspeed
like a
to everyone.
World nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration.
Looks like Rumble is DDoS right now, guys. I don't. That's interesting timing, huh?
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two.
Makes you put the thingy-ma-box on, don't it?
Benefited the very wealthy.
My chin strap on my thinking cap's a little tight.
For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires.
Quite the
billion.
Ponderable.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%.
We are supposed to be simul-streaming, by the way, to Rumble, but it is DDoS right now.
$500 million. $billion, I should say, in a 10-year period.
Let's not pretend you can count,
Biden. His debt, we'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do.
Except maybe at a playground.
Elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make.
If the goal was to make Biden seem less old, he has failed with flying colors.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look. We finally beat.
Oh, that was rough.
President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people coming in, they're putting them on Medicare.
That was not a nice little exchange for Biden. That was rough.
Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly.
He's right.
Social Security.
He beat Medicare, beat it to death.
People coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security.
He completely lost his train of thought.
Social Security. He will wipe out
that train of thought was driving through East Palestine, apparently.
And it's a shame. What's happened to our country?
Pete Buttigieg was voting his boyfriend at the time.
Not to be believed. Foreign countries. I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
Oh, here we
This
go.
morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho.
Yes.
Despite that state's restricted
They're going to
ban.
throw it to Biden
Former
first?
President Trump.
Should we be hearing procreation advice from the guy who's ghosting his own 4-year-old granddaughter?
Of abortion to the states. However, the federal government still plays
Put her in a
role
Girl
in
Scout
whether or
uniform.
not
Maybe
women
you'll sniff
have
her. I don't know.
access to abortion pills. They're used
Abortion
in about
pills.
2/3 of all abortions.
It's 2024 and we're
As
talking about
president,
abortion
would you
pills, ladies and
block
gentlemen.
abortion
That's where the
medication?
human race is at.
First of all,
if you
the
want a
Supreme
progress
Court
report.
just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question,
His
that
whole
you're
stance
asking,
is no
it's
federal
complex,
law
but
on
not
abortion,
really
which
complex. 51 years ago,
that's what everyone,
you had Roe
even
v.
people who are
Wade, and
anti-abortion,
everybody
should
wanted
want.
to get it
Abortion
back
is
to the
more
states,
curtailed
everybody,
now
without
than
exception.
it has been in
Democrats,
decades
Republicans,
because of that.
liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions.
You can tie
right
a bow
now.
on this
And
by
right
saying there's
now,
only one
the
guy on this
states
stage
control
who
it.
wants the
That's
federal
vote of
government
the
to be able to
people.
tell
Like
women what
Ronald
they can do
Reagan,
with
I
their
believe in
bodies,
the
right, as they like to
exceptions.
say.
I am
And
a
that's Joe
person that
Biden.
believes.
Trump set
And
the issue back to
frankly,
the
I
states
think
where
it's
it
important
belongs,
to believe in the
period.
exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people
I'm
don't. Follow
adamantly
your heart,
anti-abortion.
but
I'm
you have to
right
get
of
elected
Trump on
also.
this.
And
I don't agree with
because
him
that has to
on
do
this
with
issue
other
personally,
things.
as you
gotta
guys
get
know.
elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will
think
take
abortion
the life of a
doesn't
child in the
prevent
8th
you
month,
from
the 9th
becoming a
month,
mother.
and
It
even
makes
after
you the
birth.
mother of a
After
dead
birth. If
child.
look at
You
the
know,
former governor of Virginia,
moderate positions
he was
like that.
willing to do this. He said, "We'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby," meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great
You can't
thing.
kill babies.
Thank you. President Biden.
It's Chinese
It's terrible
children toys, probably.
What you've done.
What?
The fact is that
Oh.
the vast majority of constitutional scholars
Oh,
supported
we're
Roe
getting
when it
yelly,
was decided.
Biden. Here we go.
Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says
He's got the chin balls thing going on. You guys notice this?
Where in 6 weeks,
That
you
kinda
don't even
comes
know if
and
you're pregnant
goes,
or not,
don't
but
it?
You cannot see a doctor, and have him decide
Peter
on
Griffin chin
what
balls?
your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including the young
Civil
woman who
rights? Did he just
murdered.
compare killing
And
kids to
he
civil
went
rights?
to the funeral.
I mean,
The
they've
idea
compared
that
trans
she
stuff
was
to
murdered
civil
by-
rights.
by an immigrant
There's not much they
coming
won't
in.
compare to civil
They
rights.
Talk about that. But here's the deal. There's a lot
It's
of
because
young
of all the
women
propaganda
being raped
victories
by
they
their-
won on
by
that,
their in-laws,
incidentally.
by their spouses.
There were a lot of federal
brothers and sisters,
overreach during the
by-
civil rights era, right?
It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
Many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border.
Uh-oh!
We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Consider
Uh-oh!
the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming
He's
into
getting
our
into
country,
they're
and they
they're
are
not
raping
sending
and
their
killing
best
women.
territory.
And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought
The
back.
founders
Ronald
didn't know what
Reagan wanted
abortion
it
was,
brought
though.
back. He wasn't
They
able
didn't
to
know
get it.
about pennyroyal and
Everybody wanted
cohosh
it brought
tea,
back,
apparently.
and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal
Trump
scholar
just lied
wanted
bigly.
it that way.
Bigly.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any
Look at his
legal
face!
limits on how late a woman should be able to
Why does
terminate
he-
a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade.
Why does he look like he's witnessing the
Says
station
trimesters.
nightclub fire?
First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between
A doctor
the
and-
doctor.
what?
Between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians,
extreme situation gets
the
to
founders
decide.
wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about
Okay.
women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run.
Yeah.
That's
A
what
doctor
you're gonna
and
do.
the illegal
And if I'm
immigrant
elect-
who
I'm
raped
gonna
her. I mean,
restore
what?
Roe v. Wade.
So that means
Yeah.
you can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth.
Ask
Again,
Kermit
the governor, former
Gosnell.
governor of Virginia. Put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it.
They had dead fetuses out on
willing
tables
to, as we
over
say,
there.
Rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th
And Planned
month
Parenthood
and
covered
kill
that
the
up
baby.
initially.
Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger.
Just
she's
say
gonna
the
die.
name Kermit
That's the only
Gosnell,
circumstance
Trump.
which that can
Just
happen.
say it.
But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because
Constitutional
this guy,
scholarships.
because very conservative members on the Supreme Court takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA
He almost said
Republicans
mega
control the
MAGA.
Congress, and they pass on the
They keep
universal
inventing
ban
better
on
names
abortion,
for it.
period,
Like, what's-
across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security.
Oh,
President Biden,
come
a record
on.
number
He
of
just
migrants
said
have
he wants it at
illegally
a
crossed the
state
southern
level.
border
Biden
under
lies and says he would sign a
overwhelming border
federal
states
bill,
and
and then they
overburdening
mute
cities
his
such as
mic
New
so
York
he
and
can't
Chicago,
respond.
in some cases causing real safety and security concerns.
Getting awfully
Given
CNN
that,
in
why
here,
should voters
folks.
trust you to solve this crisis?
I mean, what did Trump
Because
say?
we
Like
worked very hard to get a
15
bipartisan
times?
agreement that not only
He didn't want to make a
changed
federal
all
law?
of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance
Classy.
where they can come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me, endorsed my position. In addition
Yeah.
to that, we found ourselves
Has
in a
nothing to do with
situation
you
where
signing their
when he was
paychecks,
president, he was
Chomo
taking-
Joe.
separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened?
Man,
I've changed it. in
You
a
could
way
end
that
this
now
entire
we're in a
immigration portion in
situation
5
where
seconds by just
40%
asking Joe to point
fewer
to
people
Mexico
coming
on a
across the
map.
border legally.
Like-
It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol.
Oh, my
and more,
God.
Asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of this. I don't think he knows what he said either. We had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
Oh,
He
no.
decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are
That
from
was
prisons,
glorious.
people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming
Oh,
into our
my
country right now.
God.
All terrorists, all over the
He
world.
is
not
having
just
a
in
moment.
South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over
I think
the
I
world,
see
they're
where we
pouring
haven't
in.
seen Biden in a
And
week.
this guy just left it open, and he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation.
Of course I
said,
know
close the border.
about
We had the safest
Mexico. They
border
make
in history.
action
In
figures,
the final
right?
couple of months of my presidency,
Hey.
we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president.
But you just did.
Brandon, just speak to him.
This
But
man.
look, we had the safest border in
Big
history.
2016
Now we have the worst
energy
border in
there.
history. There's never been anything like it, and people are dying
They
all
endorsed
over
me,
the place,
but I
including
won't
the
say
people
that.
are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed Al Qaeda person come in his administration, killed 3 American soldiers.
What?
Killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying the prisons, we're welcoming these people. That's simply not.
It's like
true.
he had
There's
his
no
zinger
doubt
ready, but
what
then
we
his
said.
brain
Once again,
just
it was
farted
nothing
everywhere.
fine.
President
just
Trump,
busted
staying on
ass.
the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic
That
deportation
dude.
operation in American history, unquote.
The
Does that mean that you will
self-control
deport
of David
every
Hasselhoff
undocumented immigrant in
holding in
America,
his
including
gut
those
on
who have
Baywatch
jobs,
there
including
from
those
Trump to
whose
not say anything?
spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi.
Al-Baghdadi.
The 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on
Al-Baghdadi.
everything, not just border, on everything.
You mean
He's the one
body
that killed people
Baghdadi?
with a bad border, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level.
And this
that
is
we've never
him
seen.
at the
We call
beginning
it
of the debate with all the energy coursing through his veins from, you know,
they're killing our citizens
whatever
at a level
cocktail
that we've
they
never
inject
seen
him with.
before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them I just spoke to.
Like
the
Biden's
mother,
blood is
and
90%
he just had the
adrenochrome
funeral
and
for this
10%
girl,
pixie
12 years
sticks
old.
right
this
now.
is horrible.
In like
what's
20
taking
minutes,
place.
his
What's taking
Duracell
place
battery
in
will
our
run
country,
down.
We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating.
How long is the debate? Like just over an
hour,
hour, I think, guys.
He has the worst. He's
Godspeed to everyone. We will get to, you know, all your chats and all that stuff. I got it open here, so don't worry about it.
All of the different things I approve.
Trying to let them both speak a little. It's hard not to interrupt.
And now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing.
It's true. He killed the wall his first week.
It's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
Yeah.
Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. The group opposed that. We're also in
I
a
happen to know
situation
at
where
least one
we have
veteran
great
who would
respect for
disagree
veterans.
with that.
My son spent a year in Iraq, living one of the next
Dealing with a pretty
burn pits
major
with
medical
back
issue at
stage
present.
4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery.
FYI, he was born before D-Day,
general,
just in case
and he told
anyone
me,
was
"Scott, I don't
wondering
wanna go
how
in there because they're a
getting
bunch of
old
losers
he
and
is.
Suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser."
President Trump?
Very classy.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking
Mr.
about
President, do you
veterans?
shout
Because
Hak Tua
nobody's
before you
taking
spit on
better
that
care. I'm
thing?
so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals
look
and
so
others,
confused.
say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said
The
that
16
the
economists
laptop
are talking.
was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son Hunter.
What?
It wasn't
Somewhere,
Russia
I'm sure.
disinformation.
I don't.
He made up the suckers and losers, so he should
Suckers
apologize
and
to me right
losers.
now.
4-star
Or he
General
could just say
Sanders
it now.
was on your
I'll
staff
back him
who
on
said
that.
You said it. Period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. American history. and they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they
Let
go
him
to
talk,
war.
Trump. It hurts
That's
him.
what they're doing. That's what the VA
Let
is
him.
doing now. They're doing more for veterans than
He's
ever
doing a
before.
lot better at letting
right,
Biden
thank you so
bury
much.
himself.
Move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump.
Mr. Trump, why did you
President
rape and kill a guy in
Vladimir Putin says
1967? You have
he'll
1
only
second to
end this
respond.
war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him.
He's not
we've
going to
ever
let it
had.
go.
They
Oh,
can't stand him.
Jesus.
So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just
He
about
should do
any
this
of them.
less, though,
And
because
that's based on
Biden
every single
buries
bit of
himself by
information.
talking.
As far as Russia and Ukraine,
Like, I don't think
if
Trump
we had a real
realizes how
president,
bad
the
Biden
president
came
that
off there
knew- that
before
was
he
respected
responded,
by
right? This is
Putin,
one criticism
he
I have
would have
of
never, he would
Trump
have never invaded
in debates.
Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country,
Ooh,
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Billions of dollars
Here
of
it
equipment
comes.
behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American
Yeah, but
citizens
think
behind.
about all the
When
guns
Putin
he
saw
gave
that,
them.
He said, you know
And
what?
military
I think we're
equipment
gonna go
in
and
pristine
maybe take
condition.
This was his dream. I talked to him about it. His dream.
Check
The difference
Craigslist,
is he
military
never would
rifle,
have invaded
fired never,
Ukraine.
dropped once.
Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life.
Malarkey!
We're in a situation
Okay,
where
Biden
this
won
was
the
the
debate.
last
I'm sorry. I'm
Iran
sorry.
Attacked American
Malarkey?
troops, killed
Malarkey wins it.
ran
Game,
down
set, match.
for a number of these troops.
Whew!
He did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. Here they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got
I can't
over
believe we went this
100,000
many debates
Americans
and he
and
never
others
said
out
malarkey until
of-
now.
of
I can't believe it.
Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encouraged him. Do whatever you want.
face!
And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember?
Kyiv?
He was part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he
Who's
wanted
Kyiv?
to reestablish. Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done.
Are we just calling
And
it
they've
Kyiv
lost
now? Is it like-
They've lost thousands and thousands of troops. 500,000.
Is it like
troops.
ISIL?
President Trump, if
I
I
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine?
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If
Yeah.
we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's
Putin
given
waited
$200
until
billion
this
now
old
in
man
war
Muppet got in office. I
to
mean,
Ukraine. He's
just like
given
15
$200
minutes
billion.
later.
That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion.
He's like the Ukrainian Ron
I'm not
Popeil.
knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending.
I'm
on
knocking
this
him.
war,
His name was
and we
Gonzalo
shouldn't be
Lira.
spending- It should have never
Rest in
happened.
peace, bro.
I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled. And
Yeah,
I'll
it's
get
not
it
going
settled
great
fast
for
before
Biden. I think
take
Biden
office.
got maybe 1 point in there,
You have a minute.
a little bit, and that was only because Trump couldn't
Putin's a
clam
war
up.
Criminal. He's killed
But he's won so far on at least 2 points.
And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you.
Who's his debate coach? Conrad Murray?
Attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000
Like, I almost
people
slipped into a
and
coma.
taking
What was he
hundreds
even
of
saying?
Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far
That you could have
Hamas
done
has not
at any
released
point up until now
the
and
remaining
haven't.
hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the
Free
United
matzo
Nations
balls for everyone.
Security Council, straight through to the G7, to the Israelis, and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward.
We're going to do a mass screening of Spaceballs. No one can hate Jews after watching Mel Brooks, okay?
Hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel.
Maybe that's why they're making the Spaceballs sequel, now that I think about it.
I didn't
even think about that until now.
The world against Iran when they
Israel needs you, Mel Brooks.
Ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one.
Rumble's back up. Okay, I don't know if we're streaming. Let me check.
Stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer.
Yes, we are.
Of anyone in that
if you guys want to check it,
so
okay, sorry, my
things.
audio came through there.
Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send.
You guys want? We're almost 600 strong over there, and I didn't even really shout it out.
Have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas.
Godspeed to all of you watching on Rumble. I see you, beautiful bastards.
But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons.
Bastards.
In centers.
The face! Every time Biden just trails off at the end of a sentence, but Trump's face sells it.
Have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job.
He did kind of bend NATO over a love seat a little bit.
They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was
slipped him a Cosby Colada.
He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over 100.
We are going to get to your super chats, by the way. We're just getting through the retardation party right now. Don't worry about it. I see all he is. Godspeed.
Israel and Hamas. Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one. And you
I love the Jews. Seinfeld, fantastic show.
He's become like a Palestinian.
Tremendous
but they
show.
don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, do you have a minute?
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO.
The face!
We have
maybe.
What
are you going to do, old man?
It may be a big ocean, but are we ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? You have an Article 5 agreement.
I hope that means Trump wants to pull us out of NATO. That'd be glorious.
He keeps talking about, go ahead, let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then.
Do you know what year it is, Biden?
Talking about. And by the way,
I think he thinks Hitler's still in office, actually.
Support Ukraine, including
move on to Poland, Czechoslovakia.
Because they understand that this
stand by our ally in Russia.
A serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow
yeah,
up,
because your
would you
political
support the
predecessors
creation of an
pulled us
independent
into them.
Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with
Say ripping
European
us off on
nations.
trade, Trump.
Because
Say
if
it.
you add them up, they're about the same size economically.
Say
Their
it.
economy
I
is
am
about
hard
the
as a
same size as the
mastodon
United
tusk.
States.
Say it.
And they will
Say
get
it.
no cars. No, they don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said,
oh, he's not going to say it.
I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO. If
That's
they don't
it.
pay.
I'm not voting for you,
They
Trump.
asked
That's
me
it.
that question.
That's
Would
it.
you guard us against Russia?
Ripping
At a
us
very
off
secret
on
meeting
trade.
of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6th,
Killing us on trade.
2021.
Thank you. He
After
did say
rallied
that.
your
He did say
supporters
that.
day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect,
I
and
did get pretty
defend,
blue-balled
unquote,
there.
the
That was rough.
Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th.
Ooh.
On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest
This is a nice little riposte
on
here.
January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
Trump's been playing tennis,
You
folks.
have 80 seconds left.
That was a
My
nice little
question
serve.
was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Why
Well,
are
I
they
didn't
even
say that
mentioning
to
January
anybody.
6th?
I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy
he did.
Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh,
They say?
no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard,
Yeah.
and she turned them down. And
She
the mayor
did.
of-
She admitted it.
in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered
Must have been
10,000
3
because
box wines
I could
deep
see
when she
I
said
had
that.
virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same
True,
day
she had the
was-
ability to
I
deploy
don't
the
know,
National
she can't
Guard.
be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patriots.
Did everyone forget that his Twitter account was taken down the
says
same
he'll not forgive
day?
them for what they've done.
Everybody?
They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said no.
They coached this guy for a
this
week,
guy
and this is
responsible for
the
doing
end
what
result.
was done. He did do a damn thing.
I saw they
And these
interviewed
people should be in jail,
Obama's
and they
debate
should be the
coach.
ones who are being held
I guess they
accountable.
would have
And he wants to let them all
interviewed
out,
Biden's,
and now
but
he
you
says
know,
if he loses again, such a whiner
the
that he
copy-paste key
that
is
he
a
could be
busy guy.
bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down Many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so
It's true.
off.
National Guard was brought into
that
Phoenix,
one
and
other
nothing
thing.
happened here, really.
The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible
Jake Paul
Republicans
looted a
that are
jewelry
all
store,
gone
but that's
now
about
out
it.
of office, and
Some
Democrats,
people
all
shoved a gun in his
Democrats.
face.
They
Citizens,
destroyed
by the way.
and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
It's true, they deleted
President Biden, I
everything
wanna
from
give you
the
a minute.
January 6th
The only
committee.
person
It was
that
so
says he's a
important
convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right
that
now.
Bannon is being
The fact of the
arrested
matter is,
and jailed
he's-
for not
what he's telling you is simply not
testifying
true.
at it.
The fact
But not
is
enough
that
to save
there
the
was
data.
no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in
We got a little stream issue.
Capitol Hill. And all those
There we
people,
go.
every one of those who were convicted,
Sorry, guys.
turned over desks.
That actually is an accurate representation, that little wheel of Biden's thought process.
When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you
loading,
denounce the Proud
loading.
Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by.
A little PS2 loading
The idea
bar.
He's refusing to, will you denounce these guys?
I think his
You
disc
denounce the
reader's
people
going
we're talking
bad.
About now? You denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to.
Is that a Hulk Hogan question, or
President Trump for a follow-up question I have? After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected,
oh, here we
you would,
go.
quote,
Now we're
have
about to
every
set a
right
world
go
record
after,
for number of
your
times the word
political
felony has
opponents.
been
You just
uttered
talked about
outside of a
members of the
Biden
Select
family
Committee on
reunion, of
January
course.
6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success.
Kind of
But when he
slipped
talks
that one
about a
out there.
convicted felon, his son
Right
is a
now we're a
convicted
failing
felon
nation.
at
Anyway,
a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably.
fire
numerous
rating
other
from this
times.
guy. No big deal.
Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
quid pro Joe.
That's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond?
You
Go
can
ahead.
tell there's some stuff he can't talk about. The gag order was lifted, but there's still some stuff he can't talk about.
It's outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before.
You did a minute ago.
Like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean,
What?
what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give you a minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved.
How is this a line in a
high-ranking
presidential
official
debate?
at DOJ into the Manhattan DA's
How
office
is
to start that
how is
case.
I did not have
That
sex
case
with
is
a
gonna be
porn
appealed
star?
and won.
Now, this
We
is
had a
American
very
discourse now,
terrible
guys.
judge, a
Just
horrible
the
judge,
snapshot of
Democrat.
2024
The
in
prosecutor
politics
were
right
all
there.
high-ranking
I did not have
Democrats,
sex with a
appointed
porn
people,
star.
and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his
Wow.
political opponent because
Wow.
he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history.
Because everyone sees through it, for Christ's sake.
The
guy he's debating right now is in charge of the DOJ.
The public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy.
That was a pretty good reply there.
Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's
what is going on with Biden's voice?
Down the road coming out. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face.
Like, it's not getting better.
But I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas?
What?
Got me involved to run
what?
After my son had died at a
Who said that?
Because of Iraq. I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville,
Bro,
Virginia.
whoever wrote that line for him, just like, what even?
And singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And
what in the fuck?
I spoke to the mother, and they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said...
Biden may run out of his voice before the end of this.
What American president would ever say, Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas?
What?
We're fine people. And this is the guy who said...
He's repeating the fine people hoax!
Like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done.
Like, the only hoax that honestly has been successfully debunked.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. He's trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked.
Biden has been on the apology tour. I have been on the hawk tour.
He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened.
Debunked.
All you have to do is
debunked.
And the idea that somehow that's the only reason
I think we've replaced the CNN moderators with a Reddit moderator.
If he thought they were good people,
it's been debunked, folks.
That forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking.
Let's get a great big debunk wave going in the chat, guys. Debunk. Debunk.
There's a reason why.
Godspeed, everyone.
Of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Because his former vice president was running this term.
CNN presidential debate.
He seriously thought that was an own, guys. It's amazing. All right, let me see if I can mute the sound real quick. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and, yeah. And then, god dang, we got a lot to get through here. So let's go ahead and do that. Godspeed to all of yous for bearing through this. I know these debates, especially in a vacuum without any commentary, are pretty rough. I'm trying not to talk over. It's tough because there's not really that many pauses. I get it. Presidential debates these days are like the Special Olympics. No one watches, no one wins, and the building is filled with retards. But let's see here. Alt Lag, a supporter on Rumble, by the way, says, Godspeed, RazörForce. I was all set to do a joke about Biden being declared the winner as long as his life alert bracelet didn't go off, but then Rumble melted down. It did melt down, as well as Biden, actually. What's going on with Biden's voice? he's uniquely incoherent. Normally at the beginning, like if you watch the absolute State of the Union, he was like shriekingly energetic at the beginning. He was like Mussolini from the balcony. And then like 20 minutes in, his Energizer battery started to run down. He was like, all right, listen, you dog-faced pony. Listen here, fat. Right? And he was whispering the rest of the freaking State of the Union. I expected that to happen here, but instead, he had no energy to start with, and he has no energy now. What in the world happened? I'm wondering if they didn't overcoach Biden, because they've basically kept him away from rolling video cameras for over a week now, and the rumor was they were just coaching the living shit out of him for this debate, because look, Trump is a convicted felon, technically not until sentencing. He's a convicted felon, and yet Biden is behind him. So, they're hitting the panic button. It's understandable. He got the tiniest bump in human history after that conviction, and it's all been downhill from there. My goodness. Godspeed to all of you. This is a long list, but we will get to as many as we can. Beefy 5-layer husbandle. Hail chat and laser wrist. It is indeed a laser wrist. Mage leader, can't wait to see this rigged debate backfire. No amount of mute buttons, editing, and uppers can make Biden coherent. It clearly hasn't this time. I expected whatever rhino steroids they normally inject him with, he would be screaming at the beginning and then run out of energy. He just didn't have any energy to begin with here. He's occasionally pointed his finger. He gesticulates a little bit, and that's about all he can muster. Kind of old man yells at cloud stuff. Ashley, Orange versus Turd 2024. Godspeed. Mercenary X will be forced to catch the replay, but please, Snark, I will, and I have the Smoking Patriot. Tempting fate with CNN, I see. Aren't we all, though? Give me your rights. 15,000 new jobs? How come I've run through a year of interviews and nobody wanted to hire me? Well, it's because you're a MAGA domestic terrorist. That's how that works. Jason Pelto, turn up the debate volume. No, I don't want to get copyright struck. I have turned it up a little bit, though, since you sent that. Because I am in the mood to tempt fate. Peter Gorombe, they're coming back, actually. One more. Speaking of drugs, what cocktail is Biden on? I'm wondering. Whatever it is, it's not taken. I'm going to go ahead and, against my better judgment, we're going to go ahead and turn the volume up.
Certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record
low
under your presidency,
black unemployment
black
exactly?
families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely.
It's like normal unemployment, but it wears baggier clothing and crip walks.
Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress. The fact of the matter is, there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number 2, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number 3.
Is he having problems breathing? Is anyone else noticing this?
Americans.
He's like gasping for air.
Dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their
He
houses.
got lost in the word corporation,
that,
gang.
You find that
just plumb lost.
The choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation,
This is just getting depressing.
I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half.
Use your words, Joe.
We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure we provide those child care protections. You increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds
Unless,
left.
of course, you have to say a
What do you
sentence.
say to black
What in the
voters who are
world?
disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer should get a
He's been
$10,000
denying
tax
inflation
credit to be able to buy the first
entirely
home
for
so they
the
can get
last
started.
3
I
years.
made sure that we're in a situation where all those black
And now he's
families
trying to
and
pretend
black
that he
individuals
doesn't blame people for
provided
being
that had to
disappointed.
Take out student loans that were ballooning that if they
The English language is disappointed, Joe.
And anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years.
Yeah.
Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot
I'm not
more
letting up.
for black families.
You're barely standing up.
President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's running inflation, and it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families. And
Trump has been good and quick with the one-liners.
It's
This is
killing
kind of
people. They can't buy groceries.
reminds
anymore.
me of like,
You look at the
because
cost
you'd
of
be in
food,
jail
it's doubled,
a little
tripled,
bit.
and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all of the other
Green New Scam. I love it.
Inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big
I can't believe we
job
haven't gotten on to
the
gun
black
control
people
yet. I'm sure
is
that's
the
coming.
Millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now. And it could be
Again with the
18,
black jobs.
It could be 19 and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet.
These people
but
could be
there's
rapping
something
at a
that's gonna be
nightclub.
The worst in our history.
Thank you,
They
President
could
Biden.
be in the NBA.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation
COVID, bro.
at the time.
And it
There were
got
no
worse
jobs.
under you.
Provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered with the ACA.
And by the way, Biden was
that
mad that he didn't close the
$8,000
economy
per
down
person in
even
the
more.
family.
Anybody
They
remember
didn't
that?
offer health
Anyone?
care. But this guy
Anyone
wants
have
to
a
limit
memory
that. They
past
tried
15
times.
minutes ago?
He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves
Like,
in
that's
a
not even a
position
half
where
truth. That's
the
like a quarter
idea
truth.
That we're not doing any. We put more police on the street than any administration has.
Dude,
He wants to
this
cut
format
costs.
is killing
He provided
Biden.
For equity.
It lets him
Equity
talk
and
too
making sure
much.
People have a shot to make it.
So in
There's a lot going
2020,
on.
when that
And
first
inflation,
debate, when
he
Trump kept
caused it by
interrupting
his
Joe,
tremendous
that hurt Trump.
amount
Because
season
Biden
where
couldn't
handled the
get to
pandemic.
rambling
you. Another
and lose
persistent
his
challenge
way,
is
and
the
like
climate
it is
crisis.
happening in this debate right
2023
here.
was the
This is a
hottest
terrible
year
format
in
for Joe
recorded
Biden.
history, and communities across the country are
I can
confronting
see
the
why he wanted to be
devastating
sitting
effects of
down.
Extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising
Ask
sea
the
levels.
Pope if that's a good idea,
Former
by the way.
President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me
Now
just go
block
back
out
to
the
what I
sun
said
bit.
about
What do you want him to
police.
do?
How close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 19th
Boo!
and he called it to him.
He just
and
looked
they put
surprised
the
at his
red
own
flags
words.
on. Now they see it
We've all
happening.
seen the
But
clip.
when they see what I did for
He
criminal
did call them
justice
super
reform
predators. It was
and
pretty
for the
basic. I mean,
historically
what?
Black colleges and universities where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South
Right.
Carolina. He came to me with the idea.
I
and it
I
was a
hate
great
this
idea. It's one of
premise.
the
You know,
most successful
how much
economic
money would
development
you
acts
spend to
ever
make
in
the
country.
earth cooler? Like,
Opportunity
if
zones.
if
And the
higher
biggest
taxes
beneficiaries are
cooled
blacks,
down
and
the
that's
planet,
why we
we'd
have
all
the
be
best
living on
numbers
Huff.
with them in
Let's be real.
maybe ever.
I'd be
They're
riding a
saying ever. I read this
tauntaun to
quote
work.
Ever. The best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely
NBC says
immaculate
Biden
clean
has a
water,
cold.
and I want absolutely
Interesting.
clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we did. We were using
Gatorade.
all forms of energy,
H2O.
all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that
Environmental numbers.
statistic
What are
just before I walked
environmental
on the
numbers?
stage, actually.
I don't
Here's
know
my
how many
environmental
people
number. Summer's hot. Nut up and deal with it.
I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fantasy too, Joe.
Black colleges.
Lord of the Rings.
$15 billion for
big fan.
Historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have those. They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college.
I think Trump's catching on too. He's like, ooh, just let him talk. He hangs himself.
We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something.
Whatever they injected him with, it didn't work to begin with, and now it's wearing off.
Didn't do a damn thing with the environment. He out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to
humanity might have a cold.
Is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He must undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was,
and they're the ones who pollute the most.
And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that.
Africa, India, China,
we were
right?
The only ones who was costing
Those are the biggest polluters in the world.
And it was a disaster.
It's kind of like fighting overpopulation in America, where white people aren't having kids.
I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care
but not the African mom who has 20 kids in an afternoon.
All of our medical programs, because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people, but we're destroying our country.
Yeah, show us those fake teeth, Joe.
And they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to? The United States can't get its under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress.
What is he reading?
We continue to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands.
He is reading something.
Deal with just like the Peace Corps, and we're moving in directions that are going to significantly.
Are they allowing them teleprompters?
Pollution, but the idea that he claims that
he's got his notes there.
Concerned about pollution and about climate. I've not seen any.
What the hell?
And by the way, with regard
to
this
is very confusing.
Prescription drugs.
He keeps looking at the same spot.
Agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for. One, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way.
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden says nothing is done to
by the way,
seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step
slow mojo, folks?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
What
right
in
now,
the...
Everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income.
Most people put periods at the end of their sentences. This man puts commas.
When they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%.
That was one of the most epic Biden brain freeze moments I've ever seen, gang. That was crazy.
For anybody under $400,000.
This is a disaster.
Begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no,
oh God, if he says repeat the line, I'll shit.
The biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks,
homie, defeat your own script first.
Cut Social Security and Medicare, both times. And that's what. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before.
No! They have more?
Where
They're more covered because if they're not covered, they get fined by the government. But I would not say better. No, no. I pay 3 times as much as I did in 2007 for half the coverage.
And by the way, the other thing
Jesus.
is, we're in a situation where I talk about education for...
I'd say he says it with a straight face, but look at that face, folks.
The amount of money for Pell Grants.
That's as straight as Clay Aiken at Chippendales.
Under $70,000 a year are going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the...
You poor soul.
For the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen him look in the face. But so many other things too. And
I've never seen anyone lie this badly.
Russia, Ukraine. Everything.
This is not going well for Joe. I mean, he made a good point on one point, and Trump got cut off. And I think that was kind of point Biden.
It's a disgrace. But Social Security.
But that was one thing. The rest of this has just been him trailing off, and stammering, and telling random anecdotes.
They're putting him in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens there.
Man lies like, I'd say he lies like breathing, but he can barely breathe if you watch this.
In the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before.
He's really not letting this veterans thing go.
He acknowledged after that he fired that general.
And he's wasting his time, too, because
he's the one who's
how heavily conservative does the military vote? Biden's not cutting into that.
Number 2, the idea
what's the point in lingering on this, Joe?
Where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world.
Yeah, unless you look at your grocery bill.
In the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession, and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history.
If Trump is elected, we'll be in a recession. Because we're totally not right now, folks. We totally haven't redefined what a recession is like 5 separate times just so we can avoid having to say we're in one.
Both you and President Biden.
Anybody remember when the definition of recession was 6 straight months of negative growth? How many times did we pass that under Biden? 3?
For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children.
And we just decided not to call it that.
In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, but we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is...
I'm surprised they haven't talked about Pride Month at all. I got to be honest.
He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there.
Should have fired more people, to be honest.
I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody.
You know, guys like the FBI, CIA.
He fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tougher.
He should end this with "you're fired." He really should.
A nothing deal. And it reduced.
I'm hoping that in November I'll get to say you're fired.
Insignificant. He wants open borders.
That'd be a glorious inauguration speech, by the way.
Or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen.
He is just staring off into space, too. It's so weird.
He doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America.
There's not supposed to be a second rebuttal, by the way. They keep giving a second rebuttal to Biden.
In the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one.
You're supposed to say a thing, then get a rebuttal. Say a thing, then get a rebuttal. You don't get two.
We're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online.
Look it up or go online. Just don't go to X.
Presidential historian.
And not to any of those dirty right-wing YouTube channels. Don't go to that Razor Fest assholes channel.
They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not a.
It's a fact. I'm surprised he didn't say that's a fact, Jack.
That's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with Childcare, he did for virtually nothing to Childcare. We should significantly.
How's your granddaughter, Joe?
We should significantly increase the availability.
Speaking of childcare,
men or single parents to be able to.
How's Hunter's illegitimate daughter?
Encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question.
Oh no! Oh my God!
Just so you understand,
they should keep doing this. Keep giving him a second rebuttal. The more he talks,
and they rate me.
This is brutal.
And they rate me one of the best. Okay, and if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever.
What, did you smell a fart, Joe? Or
us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire, so everybody, including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country.
Yeah, not that I hold that against you, Trump.
By far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about. He's increased the tariff. He will increase the taxes on middle class people. I said I
Jesus! He can't even choose between the different lies he wants to tell. Did you see him? He's going through the mental file facts there. Or the crib notes, really. Let's be honest.
$2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number 2.
It is bold of Biden to bring up the cost of food.
Not raised. He's somehow
bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
The class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit.
This is what we call a pro-gamer move.
Number 1. Number 2, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss the epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority.
Every time they let him talk.
Crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up.
Yeah. I think we're witnessing an overdose death right now.
More than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids.
Yeah.
What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment?
We're actually gonna have to wait for Biden to die.
We now have the largest deficit.
Most of the drugs are in his system right now.
We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets paid from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took my tariffs because I've
talked about this before. Biden sold the Louisiana energy grid to communist China. And his first week in office, he overturned Trump's ban on foreign companies owning owning utility companies in the U.S. Why did he do that?
But he's got the largest deficit in the history.
Never gave an explanation.
Just he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us.
China. Please say China like 50 more times, Trump, please.
As a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
I think we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border were it
I mean,
started
look,
to increase.
you
We got
address the
free
border
equipment.
issue,
We
you
worked
address a
certain
large
dogs.
chunk
It's the
of the
most
drug
incredible
problem.
thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot.
Gang, the
And we had-
fentanyl
we
thing is
were
out of
getting
control
very
in
low
Arizona.
numbers, very,
Out
very
of
low
control.
numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now?
I went to pick up
It's
a
not
pizza
only
the other day.
18
Dudes were
million
just
people that I
smoking
believe is even
fentanyl off
low
of
because
tinfoil
the gotaways,
at
they
the
don't
bus
even talk
stop.
about
Like, just
gotaways.
lunacy.
But the numbers of
Full view of the public.
the amount of drugs and human
No
trafficking
fucks given.
in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
Oh,
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
my
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And
I got this mug from my dad, actually.
That can detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more
fentanyl machines?
of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done,
What?
he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it."
I think there's a
It's gonna hurt
fentanyl machine talking
No,
right
he never
now.
argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines.
Oh,
We're coming down very hard on
tests.
countries in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl, and
You
Mexico
didn't just
is
say
working on it
tests.
to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question
We
is
need
about
more fentanyl
Americans in
machines.
the throes of
Produce more
addiction right now,
fentanyl.
struggling to get the treatment they need.
That's what it sounds
This
like.
is just pertaining to it. He ended remain.
We
in
are going to get to
Mexico.
all your super chats and
He
stuff,
ended
guys.
catch
Just
and release. I made it catch and release in
allowing the
Mexico, not catch
sideshow
and
to
release
play
here.
out here.
We
Godspeed.
had so
I do
many
see
things
all
that
you
we
fine
have
folks
done.
over
Hard
on
negotiations with
the
Mexico, and they got it
Rumble.
all for nothing. It's just like
For
when we have
nothing.
a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a
Godspeed,
hostage,
all
the
of
Wall
you.
Street Journal
Gosh, we
reporter.
got a ton of people over
I
on
think a
Rumble.
good guy,
Godspeed to all you
and
guys.
He's over there because Putin is laughing at this.
Master
They're
Chief,
probably
make
asking for
wood
millions of
chippers great
dollars
again.
For the reporter, I will have him out. Very
It's true, you
quickly,
don't need,
as soon as I take
machines if you
office.
close the border.
Before I take office, I said, by literally, as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a
We're
long
gonna
time ago.
solve hard
Putin's
drugs
probably
with
asking for
bouncy
billions
crack
and billions of
houses.
dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President
here we
Biden,
go.
You would be 86 at the
About to
end
set a
of the
land
second
speed
term.
record for
How
number
do you
of
address
times the word
concerns
felon is said
about
here.
your
Here we go.
capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Oh, no, it's going to be about
Spent
age.
half my career being criticized as being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate.
No,
and now I'm the oldest.
You were the
This
youngest
country
with
is
male
younger,
pattern
but always
baldness.
competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people.
Why did he
So,
mention that he
the
used to
whole
be
idea
young?
Of computer chips,
Is it-
we used to have 40% of the market.
Did
We
anybody
invented
catch
those
that?
chips, and we lost it.
They asked
because he
him
was sending people
if people should be
to find the
concerned
cheapest jobs
that he
overseas
remembers a
and
world
bring home the
before
product.
World War
So
II.
I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United
And he
States.
pointed out helpfully that
And
at one point
guess
he was
what?
young.
Those fabs, they call them, that to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them.
Huh?
And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for America.
What's that have to do
all
with
over
him being
the
old?
world.
President Biden, you
What?
have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before.
You?
The envy of the
You
world.
in the 2020 debates?
Single major country
What?
president
What?
couldn't trade places with the United States of
I
America.
think it was the exact
All
words
our
Biden
problems
used,
are
too.
we're the most
Somebody's
progressive
going to clip
country in the
that
world in getting things
back
done.
to back with
We're
the
strongest
2020
country in
debate.
the world.
I'm pretty
We're a
sure he
country in the world that
literally
keeps
said
our
we're a
word.
failing country.
Everybody trusts us, all of our allies, and our those who he cuddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, he sends love letters to, and Putin, etc., and screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump.
Homie, we almost had peace on the Korean Peninsula under Trump. Now, Kim Jong-un and Putin are hand-jiving each other in a car. Fuck.
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know.
Yeah.
We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. But I took 2 cognitive
I'd like to see
tests.
Biden spell the word cognitive test.
And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape.
We're judging golf skills.
In good shape as I was 25,
This should be the rest of the
Actually,
debate,
I'm
guys.
probably a little
Screw
bit
the
lighter,
issues.
But I'm in as good a shape as
Let's
I was,
just turn this into a golf match.
Years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But
And Alice Cooper can preside.
Cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
What?
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's it. Anyway, just take a look at what he said. Look, I'd be happy to have driving
Anyway, this is what I mean. This format is working better for Trump than the guy they intended to protect with it.
By the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap. But I have, you know how many?
No. He sniffed a 6-year-old handicapped girl. That's what he meant.
21.
That's all. You were just confused, Trump. It's no big deal.
That voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose
that were deleted when he was banned.
Statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech
for violent
in front of,
tweets that didn't exist, by the way.
Spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
Yes, he said it!
Again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a
little bit of 2016 energy, a little bit.
We're a failing nation because of him.
Just here and there. He's been pretty sedate.
His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III
Trump?
Than anybody.
I haven't seen
we are very, very
this steady a hand since I played Operation with Michael J. Fox.
And President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO.
He's already been president, and we didn't have World War III, Joe. That's not really an effective talking point. I don't.
The idea.
Blink, Joe.
Think of a
Blink.
Major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with.
Blink. It's not hard, Joe.
Because
it's a little less hard for me.
Wonderful peace because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now,
what is he reading?
To protect the world because of our own safety is at stake. And again, You want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question
He was still just staring off into space when they ended there.
Election, regardless of who wins.
This is real weird.
What he said, if I might. Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with... He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia. Because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running
I wish he did
soldiers.
the mocking hand gesture.
It's so sad.
That's the only thing
so
this is
many
missing.
People, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because
I think the
of
golden
him
domes
and
are on
stupid
Biden's
decisions.
chin, actually.
Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless
He said
of who
yes
wins?
at the
Yes or
beginning.
no, please.
If it's a fair and legal,
Yeah, he
and good
already said it
election,
at the beginning,
absolutely.
lady.
I would have much rather
Fucking
accepted
Seabiscuit.
these, but the fraud and everything
Clean the
else
carrots
was
out of your ears.
ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again.
You know, she's just cranky. She's like, I skipped the
until I saw
Belmont
the
Stakes for
horrible job
this.
he did.
Come on.
He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level, because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner.
Let's see after the 4 a.m. ballot dumps, huh?
You appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America
Would hear
said
it.
any of your claims.
Would hear the case. Yeah, yeah.
State or local. None. But you.
He is
continue to
clearly looking at something, and I'm
lie
wondering what it
about
is,
somehow
because
there's
it's
all
the
this
same exact place every
misrepresentation,
time.
All this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
He was like trying to tell a superhero origin there. He was a little bit more coherent there, a little bit. But just, all right, here we go. God, I thought this was only going to be just over an hour, but it's going to be longer than that, clearly. Godspeed to all of yous. My God, you're all still here. It's lunacy. I can't believe you're enduring this retardation with me, but Godspeed to all of you. Here we go. Bo Clark. This is Rodney Dangerfield versus Ted Knight. All right. David Hess. I wonder how the DNC talking heads are going to spin this. It has not gone very well for Joe. He's landed, I think that last point there, he landed like, I guess, a little bit of a body blow for his side, not so much with the broad electorate. And then he made one point earlier in the debate where I thought it landed solidly for Joe Biden. The rest of the night has been him responding and then trailing off and completely losing his way. And it's happened like at least 4 or 5 times. And sometimes he's like, one time he literally said, and listen, and then just stopped talking. Disastrous doesn't cover it. This is not going well for Biden. Not at all. So yeah, I wonder how they're going to spin it. They will need... Here we go. They'll need like a Trinitron. Nobody. What does Trump have to do with the Antifa drones? Exactly. Quake 4. Biden bore our sins on his body so that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. Isaac Trotz. Funk the debate. Post physique or death match. I don't know what that means. Post physique from The Princess Bride. Jim from Discord. This is my first super chat. This debate is like watching a baby seal get clubbed and run over by an 18-wielder. P.S. Thank you for the metal mythos on Alice Cooper. Dragontown is boss. It is. Dragontown's a very underrated record. Actually, if you guys have not seen that, I did an entire full documentary. It was like 2 hours. It's definitely... Spending your time with that is definitely time better spent than this debate. I will tell you that much. So... David Hesse, the drugs are wearing off. I'm not sure they ever really kicked in. Rebellions, he's unironically taking the position that he's the longest career politician as a win, but we're the out-of-touch one. This is what I mean. Like, he's made several points where you just kind of scratch your head. Like, do you think that plays with the broader electorate? Do you think that makes you sound better? And that's one that I definitely picked up on. Vasudin, oh dear Lord, just got on, and I will say this is the most hilarious case of elder abuse I have ever seen. I can think of several more hilarious. Trent Tuttle, how do I know Biden's having a crappy night? Well, it depends. Oh, excuse me, this depends. Danger Dagger 1, oh my god, this is so great, Joe is burying himself. You know, I think even without my commentary, you guys could pretty well pick out that, like, he just keeps trailing off. And it's wild. I think they picked this format because they thought that Trump not talking over him was going to help Joe Biden. But one of the talking points that I was going to say if we had had a little bit more lead-in time was my biggest recommendation for Trump in this debate would be to let him talk. I didn't think Trump came off nearly as well in 2020 in the first debate because he kept interrupting. He didn't let Biden bury himself. We're actually back, unfortunately.
Biden, you have 2 minutes.
Here we go.
We've made significant progress.
I think these are closing remarks.
Although was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out,
or maybe this is on taxes. I don't know.
I think the tax system is fair. The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not.
Unless they refuse to enroll in Obamacare, right, Joe?
But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one. He's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a
which
position
you worsened, Joe,
he now wants to tax
as we've
more
established.
by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices.
Ooh, this is bad.
Well, guess what? We got it down to $35.
Oh my God!
Instead of $400, no more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years, because the
just knowing this steady hand is at the tiller, I sleep the sleep of the seraphim, huh, guys?
All along, it's happening now. Everybody in America, he wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have Childcare. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for Childcare. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on.
We're going to keep children away from my son, and also from me.
Health problems for people across the country.
Also from Dr. Disrespect.
To bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Oh, this is a closing
like
statement.
So many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything.
No, he hasn't. Good point.
Country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened.
Just composing a tweet. Don't mind me, guys.
We're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you. because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's
Don't
got
mind me.
jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to
Space
Asia
age.
or going to
If he
Europe
says
and trying to
Space
get
Force,
when you're terminally
I
ill.
will pinch
Now you
turd.
can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate.
That's it, folks. That's all she wrote. That was an abortion for Joe Biden. I have covered other debates, guys. If you have watched my coverage in real time of debates, obviously, I am a conservative. Obviously, I am skewed more to support Trump, generally speaking. I have never declared any prior debate a complete disaster for Biden before now. This was a botched back alley Tijuana abortion. What in high holy hell? What in the 9 goddamn divines were his handlers thinking, allowing him to get up on this stage? Sounding like he does right now. Looking like he does right now. Trailing off. Staring into space. What were they... I sound like the angry video game nerd. It's like, what were they thinking? Honestly, this was legendarily bad for him. Like I said, 1 or 2 solid body blows for Biden, but that is all, and I gave those to them when they occurred. If you guys watched, you saw me do it, okay? Obviously, I have my personal biases. This did not go well for Joe Biden. That may have been the worst Biden performance I've ever seen. And normally, he performs semi-reasonably well in debates. Biden is able to control himself. Like, he took out the trash with Paul Ryan, for example, in 2012, I think it was. He's not a terrible debater, usually, because he lies like breathing. So, all right, let's, but my God, we have so many super chats to get to, so here we go. Seriously joking, screw them both. Let's see here. I'm not sexually attracted to either, so blow me. Isaac Trotz, Bidung has a comical liar face. Nomadic Gaming, gotta love Joe, repping the left by his strategy being to self-delete his position and talking with that freshly hit crack pipe voice and mentality. Freshly hit crack pipe voice. That's actually a good little descriptor. Ashley, Trump is smart. He figured out the flow. Use the initial question as a retort to the last, and when they ask the question again, use the time to answer. He did pick up on that pretty quickly. It's interesting. I think his natural inclination is to interrupt him. You could see that in 2020. I didn't think that first debate in 2020 went nearly as well for Trump. I didn't think he crapped his pants or anything, but he almost gave Biden certain points because he wouldn't stop talking. And it's like, no, let Biden talk. He'll bury himself. Trust me, just let him talk. He'll do it for you. Paul Astarte's power move. Trump yields his time to let Biden dig himself even deeper. Very, very true. Rebellions, he looked away from his notes to stare at Trump and immediately visibly forgot what he was going to say to him. I noticed that. I noticed that happen at least 3 separate times. Did you guys see that? That was crazy. Elite Elk 221. Is it just me or does Biden look like he's going to fall over on stage? If he has a cold, it makes a little bit more sense. But if he had a cold, why in the world would you go through with the debate? Most people watch the first debate and don't watch the second and third, right? We may not even get a second and third because of the indictments. So this was a really important debate for Biden to do well in. He did not. All right? He beshitted himself. Let's see here. The best badness 420K. Don can stand to quit looping, I think. I'm not sure what that means. To quit interrupting? I think it's good that he didn't interrupt so much. I think that helped him. Stephen J. Godspeed. Caps Lock 3. Hi, decided to give you 1/50th the worth of a McDonald's cheeseburger for your entertainment. He gave me $5, by the way. I haven't eaten at McDonald's in a hot minute. Eric the Red. Did I miss when we started caring what a poet laureate said about the damn economy? Good point. Axzilla. Here's a SC. Super chat. Love you. And by the way, something that trails off. I don't know what that means. Red Panda Daddy. Under Trump, I got a house. Under Sleepy Joe, I'm looking at bankruptcy. Joe definitely fixed the economy. Yeah, like Bob Barker fixed a chihuahua. Beefy 5-layer husbando. The change in energy is when they go to his B-roll. B-Chain 315. Hot damn, I didn't know CNN was hosting a stand-up comedy show tonight. My ribs are hurting. It was amazing. I almost didn't have to say anything. It was so comical by itself. Octane Junkie. Sleepy Joe's definitely developing a tolerance for whatever meth daiquiri they have him on. Meth daiquiri! I love it! Mr. Anderson, I regret to fact check Trump. Biden probably has had more boosters and therefore has the bigger heart. That's a good point. Oh, Emperor Soft Turtle, this is illegal. You cannot stream a murder. The As Your Nightmare. Joe Biden made us look like the French stereotype with his malarkey. Cheeseburger eating surrender monkeys. Also, clean air is under shrinkflation. Thank you for that. Eric the Red, if elected, I would appoint a wizard in my cabinet to control the weather. Necromancer. I love that name. Trump is killing Joe with one-liners, draining the life out of his withered corpse before our very eyes. This was a massacre. You know, Trump is not the most amazing debater, but if he can get in a rhythm, like we saw with Hillary in that second debate, you know, he really, really can bury someone. Let's see here. Matt Barnes. The B vitamins and adrenochrome are taxing his circulatory system. Karen5582. Get this man an inhaler or something. Mage Leader. Man, I expected this debate to backfire, but it's so much better than I thought it'd be. Biden is barely able to talk, and Trump is dominating. Bet Mark Hamill's disappointed tonight. Now he'll be... Dude, it'll be full cyclone spin. Jason Pelto. Sorry, dude, I didn't know that was an issue. Thanks for being you. I don't know what that means, but Godspeed. Ashley, this is Elder Abuse. GGE, you make this debate watchable, Razor. Godspeed. Jason Knight, Border Patrol Union just now. To be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden. Seriously? Did that just happen? I know there was a little bit of sketchiness with the Border Patrol Union and the Border Patrol themselves. And not only that, but as I pointed out during the debate, Biden's the president. He technically pays the Border Patrol. So does the Border Patrol endorsing the guy who signs their checks actually mean a damn thing? You know what I mean? Like, that's not really a brag. Here we go. Sir Link, volume's a tad on the low side. Yeah, I pumped it up a little bit, but... Best moment of the debate so far. Biden saying, and another thing, and then just stopping dead. I've never seen anything like it. Oh, M Towers. What's Razor's over-under on if Trump comments on the smell? I wish. Sleepo, Merrick or Davian, that's about all. Peace out. Come on. Merrick. Actually, hold on a second. Where is it? I've got it here. Oh, where is it? You know what? I don't have it on me. Shoot, I thought I had the Merrick source book. I'm sorry. Oh, Jake B. I counted 5 times Trump wasn't allowed a response, but Joe got one every time. Very true. But it backfired biblically. Because every time Biden was allowed to just ramble on, it just made him look worse. You know, the big politician thing is you get asked a direct question that is unfavorable to you. Like, you know, hey, Biden, what about how bad the economy is? And then he'll kind of pay lip service to that. This is the classic politician move. You pay lip service to it, and then you sort of jeté over to the subject that you want to talk about, right? Well, Biden was so incoherent tonight, it's like he would try to do that, and he would lose his place. And then he would wind up just rambling about the price of fish in China. You know what I mean? Like, that was really what killed him. And then, on a few occasions, he was about to do that, and then he just stopped. And he just ran out of steam. The best one, I think maybe the moment of the entire debate, like the highlight of the entire debate, was Joe Biden rambling on, and then just kind of petering out at the end of a sentence. And Trump just straight up saying, I don't even know what he was talking about there. I don't even know if he's speaking English. Like, just, dude, everyone at home is thinking the exact same thing. Mud, God bless you for covering this. Trying to watch this hurts my soul. You and me both, brother. You and me both. Karis, look up David Morse. That's Biden's voice actor. Rebel Umbrian. Ukraine should have accepted Russia's peace terms. There's no way they're retaking the territory Russia controls, and it's only going to get worse for them from here. Bumcrack Jones, Biden looks like he's about to wander off. Aeon, Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, and now Donald Trump. Bless you for setting these trials straight. Godspeed. Commander CTC, throughout the whole debate, Joe is running on steam that I am surprised that there isn't any steam coming out of his ears. Seriously, I'm shocked that Joe is lasting this long. Turdfergberg. Slow-mo Joe's on the Rocky face paralysis flow. Gimme your rights. He's calling him anti-Semitic, but Dawn has Jewish relatives. That is true. And he gets criticized by some of the people on her own side, shall we say. Theoretically on her own side. Isaac Trotz. Oh no, they carried torches and symbols. Be afraid. Hitler had some good ideas. That was the most ridiculous statement of the whole. Where did that even come from? I've never even heard that lie about Trump. Does anybody in the chat know what he was even talking about? I've covered a lot of stuff around the Trump presidency, and I had yet to hear that one. When was that accusation made? When the hell was that accusation made? Ever? All right. Sorry, trying to look through all the different ones here. Godspeed to all of you who are still sticking around. I am getting through super chats as I can. Yeah, nobody in the chat knows what the heck he was talking about. I wonder what the heck that even came from. You know what I wonder is if him claiming that Trump had said Hitler had some good ideas, I'm wondering if one of his handlers didn't give him a similar talking point. Like maybe the fine people hoax, he was supposed to sort of jeté that into, what are you going to say next, that Hitler had good ideas? Maybe that was part of the script, and Joe he got lost in space yet again. That happened so many times. You could tell he wanted to make one point, and then he just sort of petered off. Just off into Narnia. All right. Who's Biden's debate coach? Professor Scott Steiner? He's fat! He did call Trump fat at one point. John Casamassa, Biden saying the words "you're lying" every other minute. Smokey M10, my retribution's going to be success. Put that on every single campaign ad. That actually wasn't a bad one-liner, by the way. Toxic monger of the hateful... I can't see. It cut off your name, I apologize. Toxic monger of the hateful... Nazi, I'm just gonna finish your name for you. The fact is, drink every time Biden starts a statement with "the fact is." Yeah. I take no responsibility for any alcohol poisoning or liver failure you might accrue from attempting this. UZ Patrol! I miss Biden's Les Claypool smirk from the last debate. He was too far gone to do that, I think. He didn't feel cocky, because I think he probably sensed that the debate was going badly for him. I want to go on record as saying this, I have never seen Biden perform worse in a debate. He is generally an able-handed debate. Like, I think his debate skills have been overrated in the past, but there is no denying that he has been successful in prior debates in the past. Not so much when there's other people on stage, right? Like, when it's a whole panel in a primary, for example, like, there's a reason Biden was polling in single digits when there was a whole panel full of Democratic candidates on stage with him, because with them, he just seems like a tired old man. But when it's one-on-one, he generally performs okay. He did not perform okay tonight. It did not go well. What the hell was that? Night Lancer, this debate is the most one-sided engagement in human history since the Anglo-Zanzibar War. Rune Mall, good deep cut there, by the way. No. Septomicron, billions and billions. Who wore it better, Trump or Carl Sagan? John Jackson, not only was his Twitter taken down that day, but just before that, he also put out a video calling on people to peacefully leave. Yeah, I pointed that out as well. It's ridiculous. And Biden repeated that twice. Like, what the hell? But I mean, like I said, Biden, career politician, lying just comes to him. But he was remarkably fumbling about it this time. He's normally a much smoother liar, I would say. Oh, let's see here. Rune Mall, love that the guy who couldn't take his eyes off his watch is trying to convince people he supports our troops. Oof. Oof. Anyone see that picture? El Men VS, Spaceballs 2, the search for more money for Israel. Don't you mean our greatest ally trademark? Xenaximus, I'm actually loving every minute of this new reality show on elderly abuse. I am too. I still can't tell if that's fear on Joe's face or just constant bewilderment. I think it's perpetual botched facelift. Mike Burns, / arranged accident, says rest in peace Gonzalo Lira. Indeed. Salute. The nation of Ukraine basically killed him by refusing him medical treatment until it was too late. Isaac Trotz, YouTube censored what I wanted to say. Biden is a malarkist. Ooh. Eric the Red. Biden's really going to try to flex on the Ukraine. That he is. Smokey M10. Malarkey mentioned total Biden sweep. Let me do the Jeb Bush pose. Oh. Please, Fap. Anyway, please don't. Actually, please don't while you're watching this. Oh, let's see here. The Azure Nightmare. Joe Biden made us look like... Oh, sorry. Already read that one. Mosh Pit. Give Biden some credit. He did bless our vets with his star-spangled sphincter bomb. Very true. Give me your rights. Never correct your enemy when he's making a mistake. I don't think any debate in history, that I've seen anyways, better illustrates that theorem. Never interrupt your enemy while he's making a mistake. But Trump did not interrupt, and in some cases could not interrupt, and my God, did it work for him. Jegs Dino God, I agree. The rules backfired and helped Trump. TLJ Screwjob, they're going to use this to replace Biden. This was really, really bad. Primarch Vulcan, dear God, we're not even 25 minutes into the debate, and Biden looks like he's going to pass out. I was laughing so hard, I thought I was going to pass out. Smokey M10, praying Trump mentions Joe checking his watch. He didn't. He should have. He didn't, but he didn't need to, honestly. Ashley, Biden looks so lost because he's been trained on a script and he can't comprehend anything Trump or the moderators are saying. Lost dementia face. There is such a thing as being overcoached for a debate. I used to be on debate team in high school, did a little bit of that. I honestly get you know what, a really prominent example of someone being overcoached on a debate and kind of shitting themselves as a result is Sarah Palin in 2008. This was miles beyond Sarah Palin's abysmal performance in 2008. This was way beyond that. He was way overcoached, and his memory is so bad. Like, he was probably wearing an earpiece, too. That's the thing you need to understand. He's worn an earpiece in every single debate, make no mistake. And he was still fumble-fucking all over the place. Oh, let's see here. Give me your rights. Biden's words must be tasty. He sure loves chewing them. That and his dentures. Knox, they need to bring out a child to give Biden a boost. It's kind of... A Girl Scout is like smelling salts to Biden, actually. Rebellions. Does Bidet ride his last high live on stage tonight? Though, what's the over-under on that? Well, I think we all saw, folks. I think we all saw. Max Romish in the woods. I think the Adderall just wore off. Holy shit. Ruffle Mao. Smokey M10. Sir, my debate opponent appears to have a bag of marbles in his mouth. I think a bag of marbles in the mouth would at least give him plausible deniability. No such luck. Scott Steiner, the world's greatest ring announcer. Joe, a 5-hour energy away from going Ultimate Warrior. Karis, are they cutting Biden off to prevent foot-in-mouth syndrome? You know, you wonder sometimes if maybe the moderators weren't trying to help him, but it wasn't a good look. It wasn't a good look. It made him look worse. Composite Frylock, how long before debate devolves into Call of Duty lobby? I wish. Rebellions, I'm from Ohio. The bill passed because of a scummy ad campaign here that had no counter-narrative that implied everything from denying women medical rights to outlawing women in general in this state. That has tended to be the hyperbole around abortion that the left has pushed. And again, Republicans have been abysmal at counter-narrative. But I still advocate on a state level dealing with this issue. Because you're going to... What Republicans in the state of Ohio now can do is they can work to chip away at that bit by bit, you know, one councilman at a time, one campaign at a time, and you'd be surprised at what you actually could accomplish going forward there. It's not the end of all things. And who knows, it's such a far-reaching law, there's some question about whether or not it actually violates the Ohio Constitution. I think that's worth looking into, because the Ohio Supreme Court might actually have cause to gainsay that. Bourbon Decay, all he needs to do is make Biden Alzheimer's tard rage and it's a Trump victory. He did a couple of times. Biden kind of went off his meds for a moment and started yelling. And I think even Biden realized how bad it looked and he kind of pulled it back a little bit. Oh, Composite Frylot, let's go Metalhead Triggered. Huh? I don't know what that means. Aunt Jemima, Joey B, a.k.a. Pinocchio's battery is running low. Give me your rights. Joe needs some more coke, like what he got during the State of the Union. Ryan Leaf, this is nothing but the Dems setting the stage to replace Biden as the nominee. You know, man, this was so bad. That has to be on the table. Does it not? Does it not? It's hard to argue. Few more here. And of course, we are going to stream tomorrow night. So some of this stuff we'll be able to get to tomorrow. Like I said, there's a ton of these. It's going to be impossible for me to get to every single one. But Godspeed to each and every one of you that, you know, that went ahead and checked in. I can't believe how many people are still rolling with us. Riplocks, I've been up for over 108 hours. Let's go. And you're still more coherent than the President of the United States. With an asterisk. Scully Bones, Dems constantly talk about taxing the rich more, never about taxing the rest of us less. Exactly. Because again, it's part of their scam. The more you tax the rich can pay for it, right? Corporations can pay for it. It keeps their prospective competitors from raising to their level. It basically entrenches this monopoly. And that ultimately is what the Democratic Party is all about at this point. Passing more regulations that create a higher bar for prospective competition and retrench corporate monopolies. And it, of course, is why the Democrat Party, after years and years of bashing corporations, they still do, with rhetoric, if nothing else, they have become the corporate party. Not that the Republicans are not a corporate party. Don't get me wrong. I just made a video about how the Republican Party is not your bud, okay? So let's not get into the partisan word games. John Cannon, Trump's playing this debate perfectly. They were expecting him to be a bat out of hell, and instead he was composed and focused. He had a lot more poise than I've seen in the past. Like, there's a fine line. You can either be just too full of piss and vinegar, or you can be too sedate. He was neither. He was right in the middle. He punctuated hard when he needed to, and he pulled back when he needed to, and didn't kind of put his foot in his mouth. Dirk, Derek Piano, 2-minute delay. Are you serious? Well, if they did have a 2-minute delay, and there's been some debate about whether or not they did, they didn't use it when they needed to, because this did not go well at all. Stephen J., why are we calling this a debate, right? Well, I don't know, because I think the R word is banned on YouTube. James Rhodes, how soon till this doddering piece of has a real-life 404 error again? Well, I think this was one prolonged 404 error, folks. The Force meme. Love everything you do, Razor. Godspeed, bro. Keep up the good work now. Drop the next Metal Mythos. My dude, I'm working on several concurrently, which probably wasn't strategically wise. But, yeah. Craig, is Biden going to collapse on live TV? Holy crap. Well, it was one kind of collapse, if nothing else. Emperor Soft Turtle, this is Biden on the experimental uppers. Jesus. Peter Garambe, speaking of drugs, what cocktail's Biden on? Let's see here. And I think we actually have gotten right to the end. Let me double check over on Rumble. Holy buckets, you guys. G1. No. Okay. How am I? This is the wildest name. GR token SP1CC. Says, this is like 6 thugs jumping somebody and still getting your asses kicked. Do you think they'll get on him on the next one? I wonder if this will not be the only debate we see. Number one, because that went terribly for Biden. And number two, because of the indictments. I kind of think this might be it for this year. And if it is, ye gads, what an abortion. Let me scroll up. There were some great donations from people over on Rumble. Godspeed. Hirosan Ichiban? Yeah, Hirosan Ichiban. Just showing my support via Rumble. You rock. Despite CNN gigabias, Biden is screwed. That was real bad. I agree. Thank you, guys. Okay, some more up here. M. Tyler, the only thing you can do to save the climate is destroy China. Economically make China bamboo huts again. No, haven't you heard? Their cows are living in mansions. Nimitz 42, it's the Coke post-nasal drip. Tiniest bump is right, LMAO. Where can I shop 25 gigabytes of DEI training vids from a multinational corporation? Damning evidence. What? Oh, you've got the 25 gigs. Jesus, where'd you get it from? Apparently he hacked the Space Force servers. M. Tyler, you know you're cooked when even Snopes turns against you. M. Tyler again, Trump is doing well with the redirects. He really did. There was really only one fumble, I felt like, and mostly that was because the moderators cut him off. That was the only slight fumble on the reply, but for the most part, the backhanded serve was working for Trump tonight. Like I said, it was a bit of a tennis match, but it was remarkably one-sided. And again, I don't think Biden's chin balls did him any favors, optically speaking. Scott Steiner over on Rumble. What's more likely to happen? A gong sound and the Brothers of Destruction, Undertaker and Kane appearing, or Joe making 5 complete sentences without mumbling? I'm taking Kane and the Undertaker. Bro, did you see Glenn Jacobs? Speaking of Kane, he played Kane in the WWE. His freaking reply to the libertarians booing Trump at that big rally in Washington, the lulberts, dude. I don't know why they're even pretending to be small government at this point. All right. But that was glorious. If you guys haven't checked it out, I think it's over on his social media account. Over on X. Alt lag. Godspeed again. RazörForce, another $5 in addition to my Streamlabs chat here on Rumble so they can get a cut and spend it on more servers. Matt G. Hammond. How did they not teach Biden to look at the camera? His mouth open and looking down is terrible, especially because, I don't know if you guys noticed, but every time, so Biden before, like, I don't know, 14 bad facelifts ago, Biden had this, like, pelican gullet, kind of like George Lucas going on, you know what I mean? Like, I try to mimic it, but I don't really have a double chin on account of I'm a skinny bastard. But when he looks down, he gets the chin balls in full effect. It is not a good look. It is uglier than Lizzo's pitted marble ass, folks. Folks, that is as much super chats as I can get to today. I only think there's like a half dozen or so left. We, of course, are going to stream tomorrow. It's RazörForce Arcade. I can't believe how many of you people showed up. Folks, that was a massacre. In summation, I guess just the best poison against Biden is to let him talk. It's wild that basically the same thing that I thought at the beginning of the debate, my opening remarks, if we had had time to make them at the beginning, if we hadn't had to jump right in, was Trump should talk less and let Biden speak, because Biden just demolishes himself. He cannot help it. He just rambles and rambles and rambles and rambles. And the more he did that, the better it was going to be for Trump. And sure enough, it was like textbook. The entire debate from beginning to end was that theorem in full effect. It's wild. It's like Trump hardwired my brain. But whoever coached Trump did a very, very, very good job. Folks, until tomorrow night, we're going to be back with RazörForce Arcade. We'll get to whatever remaining super chats are here. Godspeed, RazörForce. You've been amazing. Until next time, Godspeed!